Camel, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Joe, good to see you as well. Evening. How you doing? How you been? JP, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Good evening. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Prices dropped again, but managed to get some profits earlier in the day. Let's go, Camel. And deployed it back into the market at the lower prices. Smart move. Honestly, because some people just keep it into USDT or USDC, but good move. Denise, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. How you been? Troy, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing, Stormy? How you been? All good over here. I think nearly had 100 today in Boston. Wow. I mean, the UK, it was weather was all right as well, but nowhere near 100. Now, I'll go through the gist of what we're going to be talking about tonight's live show, and then we'll do the intro, disclaimer, and by that time, everyone's tuned in for the first part of the live show. Leroy, good to see you. How you doing? It's 103, wow, or 39.4 Celsius in Las Vegas. Let's go, Leroy. Now, on tonight's live show, we're going to be talking about quite a mixture of topics as usual. So we're going to be talking about the Kraken CEO and his new perspective on Biden. Then we're going to be talking about the Bank of England regarding rate cuts. Then we're going to be talking about MicroStrategy on tonight's live show. Then we're going to be talking about EDF Energy, essentially. The EDF Global Exxon has joined the crypto space as well. Then we're going to be talking about Solana ETFs and how one might be on the way. And then we're going to be talking about Australia's first BTC ETF that debuted and if it did well or not. Then we're going to be talking about Van Eck executives' essentially perspective on Argentina's movements. Then we're going to be going through Pantora Capital again. So yesterday we were talking about Pantora Capital and how they're going to be investing of roughly about $1 billion into blockchain AI projects. And now we have more information on Pantora Capital that they're essentially getting ready to invest $100 million in one particular asset class. We're going to talk about that as well on tonight's live show. We're also going to be talking about Italy on tonight's live show as well. Recently, I revealed on this live show that 17 Italian banks essentially concluded their testings on CBDCs. So we have some updates regarding that matter of how close Italy is getting to that stage and what they're doing in terms of crypto regulations. Then we're essentially going to be talking about tokenized US treasuries and how they're growing. The tokenization market is actually growing quite rapidly. And then we're going to be talking about Coinbase CLO and how he's essentially tasking lawmakers towards crypto remittances. Then we are going to be going through America's oldest consumer protection organization has said that Tether needs to die, apparently. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding the California judge and Ripple Labs. Yeah, so quite a mixture of news to go from tonight's live show regarding Tether, regarding Ripple, regarding CLO of Coinbase, tokenized US treasuries, Kraken Exchange, Italy, Pantora Capital, ETF market space, perspectives from Van Eck, the BTC ETF that launched in Australia, and EDF essentially joining the game as well. But the first news we're going to go from tonight's live show is regarding Kraken's CEO and his new perspective on Joe Biden. Apparently, the Biden administration is going towards crypto from a perspective of Kraken's CEO. Now, before we go through any of that, welcome to the CMF live show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, on this live show every single night, 11:25 p.m. onwards, you can tune in to find out about the latest news inside the crypto space regarding cryptocurrencies, regarding CBDCs, regarding AI, regarding regulations and politics. And we also do essentially Q&As on this live show as well. So you ask the questions, I give you the answers. If you're wondering who might be answering people's questions, I have a background in business, finance, tech, law, and cybersecurity. Also on a blockchain startup company, also some executives around me. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, if you're watching this for the first time, welcome to the CMF live show. If you are a regular, let's go CMF. Before we go for the first news, which is cracking CEO and Sleepy Joe, we're going to start a comment section first, and then we'll go through the first news after the comment section. How have you spent your summer? So there's Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you. Well, how you doing? Lena, I'm nearly done with the PDF document for you to be able to use for you to be able to send your assets to Tangent. I'm nearly done with the PDF document to be able to post it and send it to you. I haven't forgotten. I've been working on it. And regarding summer, well, I said to everyone that I'm going to be leaving. So I'm going to go to Germany first. And then I'm going to go to Germany, Switzerland. So Germany, Switzerland, Monaco. And then I'm going to go Italy. And then maybe even Croatia. I'm going to also go Nice before that, and it's all back to back. And I'm leaving next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, I'm leaving to Germany to see some family, and then from Germany, it's doing a massive Europe trip. So this Wednesday coming, I'm leaving towards Germany. Hi all, I'm good. I'm going bed soon. We'll watch the replay. Thank you, Miles, for all you do. Love369, let's go. How you doing? And no problem. How's you doing, Miles? How are you? I'm doing great, Simon. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hey, Miles, the CMF. Hope everyone is well. Solomon, good to see you as well. How you doing? Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? That's one way to put it. Die lol. Regarding Tether, yep. Hello, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Without naming my names, hello there, everyone. Troy, good to see you as well. How you doing? And let's go. First news of tonight's live show is Kraken CEO. Kraken CEO says Biden administration is softening towards crypto. Kraken CEO Dave Ripley described the Biden administration as softening its stance towards crypto during an interview on CNBC. He said this. He said, when we came into this year, the executive branch has been, via the SEC, strongly negative towards cryptocurrencies. Ripley said this in an interview on CNBC Squash Box. The host, Joe, essentially. But there have been many supporters throughout the US government. I visit DC quite often and met with many people in Congress and Senate. There are a number of supporters there, and I think over the past several, I don't know, maybe 2 months or so, we've seen some kind of a strong support. And now the battery support as well. Ripley nodded towards the passage of the Financial Innovation and Technology for 21st Century Act, or FIT21 bill, essentially. The bill aims to regulate cryptocurrencies industries, compressingly passing the 279 votes to 136 that happened in May 22nd. He also said on CNBC, we didn't expect it to be that successful. Ripley added, regarding the bill's overwhelming passage, it was really successful. I think it was 71 from the Democrat side as well. So, we've kind of seen a little bit of softening up on the executive branch. Trump's recent crypto journey. Ripley also talked about Donald Trump as well on CNBC. He said that the former United States President Donald Trump's pivot towards crypto, which aligns the new position with the potential educational journey taken by the GOP nominee. Everyone goes on a journey with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, said the essentially co-founder of Kraken. And he said, I did myself. And his comments on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are recent. So I would hope that he's kind of learning the journey, Ripley said in the interview. He also said, when individuals actually take the time to learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, it's almost a positive outcome. Trump, who previously called Bitcoin a scam, released an NFT collection in April 2023 and even claimed support for crypto in late May this year, the blog previously reported. So, regarding essentially the perspectives coming out from Kraken's CEO that the Biden administration might be softening up to crypto, I hope. But, look, here's the thing. Biden's administration, Biden himself and the administration have recently chosen somebody that's inside the SEC, a new person to be added to the SEC, who is very anti-crypto. So I don't know about softening up, but in terms of politicians, yes, there's quite a lot of politicians swinging towards cryptocurrencies. Again, it's only because they have access to that big pack of $176 million. But I understand the perspective that Kraken's CEO has given, essentially, not Kraken's co-founder essentially has given on CNBC, that they might be softening up. Yes, I would say politicians are softening up because they're in it for the political donations. But in terms of Biden administration, softening up, Biden administration don't even know what crypto is or blockchain. I don't think they bothered to learn what it is either. So learn about that one. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is the Bank of England. The Bank of England is holding its rates steady for about 7 months now in a row. Is that good or bad? Technically good, because if they do rate cuts, then it will take a small dent in the market space. But with the Bank of England sort of keeping their rates afloat, it's good for the market, essentially. But before we go through that news, let's start the comment section first. Hello, Miles and CMF. Let's go. Evening, Pure. Good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Iman, good to see you. How you doing? Also, Miles and CMF. XRP news. Yes, towards the end, we have some Ripple news to go through. How's everyone doing today? Iman, let's go. I'm doing great. How you doing, brother? Free and forever. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? So, the Bank of England. The Bank of England holds rates steady for about 7 months in a row now. Once again, the Bank of England has chosen to maintain interest rates at 5.25%, marking the 7th straight month without a change. This decision comes despite the latest data showing a drop in inflation to the bank's target of about 2%, a figure unseen in nearly 3 years in the United Kingdom. In England. The Bank of England's steadfast approach remains a cautious optimism because while inflation falls, economic indicators suggest that not all is well under the surface. With prices climbing slower, the implications essentially are huge for everyone from everyday workers to big-time borrowers and homeowners. It appears that the economy is still too wobbly for any drastic moves. Again, they're not going to be doing rate cuts, which is a good sign. The rate reduction has mixed effects. For consumers, the slowdown in price increases means slight relief, but the consistent rate holds a strain on those who are existing loans or mortgages as their repayment rates do not actually reduce. The Bank of England states that if it wants to anchor inflation expectations firmly before adjusting the interest rates, the Confederation of British Industry, CBI, hinted that it trends continued favorably. This could set the stage for a rate cut in August. However, the Bank of England, led by Governor Andrew Bailey, remains wary. Bailey thinks that a sustained low inflation rate is necessary to consider reducing interest rates, essentially indicating that a single data point won't say in their long-term monetary policies. It's good news that the inflation has returned to our 2% target. We need to be sure that inflation will stay low. And that's why we've decided to hold the rates at about 5.25% for now, still 7 months in a row. Andrew Bailey said this. He said, despite reaching inflation targets, the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, remains divided. Some members argue for more evidence of reduced inflation persistence, especially in services sectors like hospitality and culture, where prices remain stubbornly high. Additionally, wage growth has been outpacing predictions, adding another layer of complexities to the economic landscape. This wage inflation suggests that businesses are paying more to attract or essentially retain workers, possibly reflecting tighter labor market conditions as well. Across the pond, the Federal Reserve also left its rates unchanged in June as well, indicating only a single expected rate cut before the end of the 2024. The European Central Bank has already started reducing rates, a move that some may argue that the Bank of England should mirror to strengthen the UK's economy recovery. So, the Bank of England is going to be keeping its rates steady. The same way the US came out, the Fed came out recently, and I reviewed on this live show, that they're going to be keeping their rates steady. The Bank of England just came out and essentially made a speech. They're also going to be keeping their rates steady. Is that good for the crypto market? Yes. Because if they do rate cuts, the market will take a small amount of dent before it picks up again. Either way, it creates a buying opportunity. But if they don't do rate cuts, then the market stays where it is. We have some speed bumps before we start climbing again. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy expands Bitcoin's holdings with another purchase. Recently, I was telling everyone on this live show that MicroStrategy is getting ready to purchase Bitcoin once again, and quite a hefty amount, about $700 million. Well, we have confirmation now that MicroStrategy has pretty much done that sale. We're going to go through what their recent sale was. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section first. Good evening, Professor Miles and CMF family. Good to see you all, Frankie, brother. How you doing, brother? What have I missed so far? The Bank of England essentially is what we went through, and Kraken CEO's perspective on the Biden administration so far. And now we're going to be talking about MicroStrategy. So, MicroStrategy, perfect timing. MicroStrategy expands Bitcoin holdings with another $786 million purchase of about 11.9 BTC. 11.9 thousand BTC. MicroStrategy, a prominent business intelligence firm, has made headlines once again with its substantial acquisition of Bitcoin. The company recently purchased 11,900 Bitcoin for a staggering $786 million, reinforcing its position as one of the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin. This move is part of MicroStrategy's ongoing strategy to leverage cryptocurrencies as a primary treasury reserve asset. MicroStrategy's latest Bitcoin purchase details and implications. The recent purchase of 11,900 BTC brings MicroStrategy's total Bitcoin holdings to approximately 152,000 BTC. This acquisition was made at an average price of around 66,000 per Bitcoin. A lot of people are expecting Bitcoin to go, inside the retail section, crypto influencers, the retail section, they're all expecting Bitcoin to do a drastic drop to about 40,000, to about 30,000 or 20,000 or so on. People think that a massive dump is on the way. Now, Michael Saylor is, he's made one mistake or two mistakes in his past, but either way, he's still an intelligent man. And he's been in the market space for a very long time, and he's an incredibly wealthy man, and his company is doing incredibly well. His company, actually, his MSTR stars, his MSTR stocks actually sometimes outperform Bitcoin in the market on daily charts, even though his company is a Bitcoin company now. But MicroStrategy is buying individual Bitcoins at around $66,000. And crypto influencers, just to put it out there, there's different outcomes. But crypto influencers and the retail section, some people are expecting, Bitcoin to do a massive deep drop to 40,000, 50,000, or whatever. Or even, 30,000, some people might be expecting. But then you have somebody like Michael Saylor, who is pretty much more intelligent than the majority of the retail section and the crypto influencers. Incredibly intelligent man, incredibly wealthy man. And he's made mistakes. Everybody's made mistakes in the market space as well, but he's still intelligent and wealthy. And he's buying individual Bitcoins at $66,000. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin is never going to drop in price. Obviously, it's going to drop in price, but not the ridiculous price everybody's thinking about. And I've said this before. It's only because there are too many corporates holding Bitcoin and not selling. That's why the markets have never been playing out in historic patterns in any sort of a way. And people are, sometimes confused on, are we going to see a drop? Is the market going to do a black swan event, or so on and so on? But MicroStrategy's recent purchase was $66,000 per Bitcoin. He brought $66,000 individual Bitcoins, and he spent about $786 million. But there are people inside the crypto sector, crypto influencers and so on, who are expecting Bitcoin to go down to the 40s or 50s or so on. But then you have this man who's more intelligent. And what I'm trying to essentially come to is, do you not assume somebody like MicroStrategy could see this coming? For example, see the charts and see it coming, or see the data and see it coming in terms of Bitcoin going to 14, 15, so on. The reason why this man is buying at these types of prices is because this man also knows that 937 corporations hold this asset. 937 corporations hold BTC in BTC ETFs. That is according to the ETF. That is essentially according to the 13F filings with the SEC. One of those corporates is holding about $2 billion. We have pension funds in BTC ETFs right now. Do you think pension funds are going to sell those BTCs in ETFs? No. That's why MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor are buying $66,000 Bitcoins and not waiting for $40,000 Bitcoins, because they know those people won't be selling their BTC ETFs, because corporates don't do it for a quick pump. Corporates come in for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and so on. That's how long they're planning on holding these assets. Now, impact of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin purchase on the market. MicroStrategy's aggressive Bitcoin purchase have made a notable impact on the market. Each acquisition announcement tends to influence Bitcoin's price, often leading to a short-term increase. of the retail section getting excited and jumping in with MicroStrategy. The company's large holdings and continued investment signal strong institutional confidence in Bitcoin, potentially encouraging other corporations to consider similar strategies. Now, a few companies have followed MicroStrategy in their footsteps, with the two Canadian companies that are, turning their company into a Bitcoin company, and then we have the Japanese company MetaPlanet also turning their company into a Bitcoin company, backing their assets with Bitcoin. So there are, companies out there that are following MicroStrategy's blueprints. The recent purchase also comes at a time when Bitcoin is experiencing increased volatility. While Bitcoin is experiencing some sort of increased volatility, this is when this man is jumping in at $66,000. Per analysts are closely watching how such significant acquisitions by institutional players like MicroStrategy will affect Bitcoin's price dynamics and overall market stability. Future of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin investments. MicroStrategy shows no signs of slowing down its Bitcoin acquisition strategy. The company views Bitcoin as a long-term investment and plans to continue purchasing more BTC as funds become available again. This steadfast commitment to Bitcoin suggests that MicroStrategy will remain a key player in the cryptocurrency market for the foreseeable future. The broader implications of MicroStrategy's strategy essentially are profound. If other large corporations adapt similar approaches, it could lead to more widespread acceptance of Bitcoin as a legitimate treasury reserve asset. This shift could further drive Bitcoin's adoption and cryptocurrencies in terms of integration into the global financial system. Conclusion: MicroStrategy's latest purchase of 11,900 BTC for $786 million marks another significant step in its ongoing Bitcoin acquisition strategy. By continually increasing its Bitcoin holdings, MicroStrategy not only reinforces its beliefs in the cryptocurrency long-term value, but also sets a precedent for other corporations. As the company continues to influence the market and shape institutional perspectives, its actions will likely play a crucial role in the future of digital assets, which is all true. But the reason why I'm sharing you news like this regarding MicroStrategy and his recent new purchase, which is, Bitcoin at these types of prices, this man is willing to put $786 million inside the market space that is volatile. So if you are hesitant of going for a particular crypto asset, hoping it's a legitimate crypto asset, obviously not financial advice, but if it is a legitimate crypto asset and you're researching and so on, you're thinking about going, think about MicroStrategy. If you think the market's going to dump ridiculously, this man's investing $786 million and buying $66,000 Bitcoins. Individual Bitcoins at $66,000. Yeah, we are nowhere near done. This market is going to be kicking off again. We're just going through some speed bumps while the corporations settle in. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is EDF Group. EDF Group's Exxon joins Kronos blockchain, CRO, as a major validator. Another company has just joined Crow, which is a cryptocurrency that we don't rarely talk about on this live show because there's really not that much news about it in 2024. But Crow, there's news about it right now. EDF has now just become a validator, and they are quite a big company on Crow. Now, before we go through that, let's look at the comment section first. I heard the comment saying is because of the singer coming to England. What singer coming to England? BTC is too expensive to mine at the moment. The price ideally needs to rise to make it worth mining. Yes, and also Marathon Digital is going to be putting up quite a lot of essentially mining equipment as well in countries like Kenya, is where their new contract is at. So if they get those warehouses up and ready, so one is going to be in Kenya, one is going to be in Zimbabwe, if I'm not mistaken, regarding another company setting up Bitcoin mining equipment there as well. That should help momentum, but also, the buildings that they're doing should help them as well, hopefully. Nvidia went down today. Leroy, thank you for the update. What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? What did I miss? Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? We talked about the Bank of England and rate cuts, and then we talked about MicroStrategy's new acquisition of Bitcoin and how he still sees the market moving, and some other news. But when we get to the end of the news, when we get to the end of the live show, I'll go through a gist of what we talked about. Now, EDF Group Exxon joins Kronos blockchain as a major validator. Exxon, a subsidiary of EDF Group, renowned for its sustainable digital services, has joined the Kronos blockchain ecosystem as a validator on its EVM network. This partnership, announced on June 20th, 2024, marks a significant step for both entities in advancing blockchain technology with a focus on sustainability. As a validator on the Kronos EVM network, Exxon will join 32 other players, a crucial role in securing and maintaining the network's integrity. Kronos, known for its interoperability with Ethereum and Cosmos, operates multiple chains, including Kronos EVM and Kronos POS, supporting various blockchain applications such as payments, NFTs, and Layer 2 scaling solutions. This move is expected to enhance Kronos' capabilities in DeFi and other blockchain applications and reinforces Kronos' position among the top blockchain ecosystems globally. The platform claims that it already facilitates secure transactions and manages assets exceeding $6 billion. Ken Timsit, managing director of Kronos Labs, emphasized the strategic importance of this collaboration, highlighting Exxon's expertise in sustainable digital solutions and EDF's leadership in renewable energy as valuable additions to the Kronos ecosystem. Faith Bailey, Exxon's CEO, also expressed enthusiasm about the partnership, noting its alignment with Exxon's mission to support sustainable digital transformation globally. Meanwhile, Exxon involvement with Kronos follows its earlier partnership with Chill's blockchain network as well, where it joined as a validator node to enhance fan engagement in terms of support and entertainment sectors. Exxon was originally launched to offer Web3, i.e. blockchain services from distributed data centers powered by renewable energy. In 2022, they launched a node-as-service platform in partnership with EDF Group and announced plans to deploy 20 data centers across Canada. They also collaborated with quantum computing leaders to incorporate advanced technologies and eco-friendly data centers. However, it appears that the company might have evolved its focus. The company now says it's focused on upgrading old supercomputers, utilizing largely electricity and recovering waste heat while still offering blockchain-related and data center services. So, if you are the type of person holding Crow, for example, if you are holding Crow, crypto.com in other words, if you're holding Crow, new partnership has just came about for Crow, and this partnership could help it do well. Sustainable energy is where most companies are headed, not just in terms of blockchain, but in general, even the massive corporations are headed towards this sustainable energy category right now. With, for example, JP Morgan using AVAX, it's on a subnet green and so on. They're trying to go eco-friendly. Same with Citibank as well. A lot of companies are right now trying to go eco-friendly, even when it comes to blockchain. So this could help Crow in the long term. Now, investment firm 3iQ has applied to launch the first ever Solana ETP. The first ever Solana ETP has essentially been filed in some sort of a way in Canada. But before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first. I think it's deserved, and they say will drive hospitality high, and that's why they are not lowering the interest. Fair point. Now, investment firm 3iQ has applied to launch the first ever Solana ETP in Canada. Now, the proposed ETP called Solana Fund will offer Canadian investors exposure to Solana ETPs without requiring them to use hot wallets or other blockchain-related technologies. 3iQ said in a statement, the fund, if approved, would launch on the Toronto Stock Exchange under ticker QSOL. As pioneers in digital asset investment management, we look forward to continuing our mission to deliver regulated investment vehicles, embodying the highest standards and working with the best-in-class partners for individual and institutional investors to efficiently access the crypto asset class, said Greg, the Executive Vice President of Products and Head of Trading at 3iQ. That is one hell of a title to have for your job. It's unclear when the Solana fund, if approved, would become available to the investors. The 3iQ company did not immediately respond to the blog's request for a comment. Canadian officials greenlighted spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs such as proposed ETFs and CI Galaxy Ethereum ETFs in 2021. The president setting approvals came a couple of years before the US regulators first allowed similar crypto-based funds to operate in the US. So, we might be getting our first ever Solana ETPs happening in Canada. Now, is this going to be helping Solana propel to new heights? Maybe not. Over time, sure, because that could be a start of other countries joining in with Solana ETPs, and then the money will pile up on top of each other. So that is good news for Solana users, but also good news in terms of corporations coming in to, start moving away from Bitcoin Ethereum, which is, if you're a Bitcoin maxi or, Ethereum maxi or so on, it's good that these corporations are starting to understand to, widen their reach. And it also goes back to essentially what one analyst said, which was Nicholas, where he stated that companies want a diversification in terms of going for assets. Also was mentioned by Brett. Ironically, was also mentioned by CIO of Bitwise, saying the exact same words of companies want some diversification going on. So expect a lot more ETFs and ETPs happening with different cryptocurrencies. And I've said this previously as well. When they do Bitcoin ETFs, it's not just good for Bitcoin. It brings more eyes in general on the entire crypto space. So that is good in that sense. Now, Australia's first Bitcoin ETF debuts on ASX with only $1.3 million in trading volume. What up, Miles, the CMF? Ray, good to see you. How you doing? So, Australia's leading stock exchange, the Australian Securities and Exchange, ASX. So, the first Bitcoin exchange traded fund, ETF, approved and commenced trading, closing its debut today with a $1.3 million or 1.9 Australian dollars in trading volume. This figure falls short compared to its United States spot Bitcoin ETFs, which collectively ascend $4.5 billion in trading volume in the first day, averaging around $450 million per fund. Van Eck, who is behind this investment, Van Eck, the investment firm behind the Van Eck Bitcoin ETF VBTC in Australia, they didn't care that not that much volume came towards their Bitcoin ETF in Australia on the first day. Van Eck didn't care in any sort of a way. They're actually optimistic. They said, so this is what Van Eck said. Van Eck expressed optimism about the potential growth of the product in Australia. Despite the market size difference between the two countries, it said, notwithstanding the Australian market being a lot smaller than the US and most of our flow being retail rather than institutional, there is a possibility that we may follow a similar path, said Jamie Hemon, Van Eck's deputy head of investments and capital markets, essentially told Cointelegraph. He went on to say that also highlighted the significant interest from both retail and professional investors in gaining Bitcoin exposure through the ASX in Australia. Also said, we have had a significant amount of retail and professional investors express strong interest in getting Bitcoin exposure through their ASX. On its first day, VBTC started trading at around $13.24 and ended the day at $13.34, with a total of 96,476 shares traded during the day per the ASX data. Cointelegraph reported on June 15 that the Arian Nerian, Van Eck CEO for the Asia-Pacific region, emphasized the growing demand for Bitcoin in Australia, especially for regulated, transparent, and familiar investment vehicles. Nerian stated that we recognize Bitcoin as an emerging asset class, and many advisors and investors want to access it. He further added that VBTC also makes Bitcoin more accessible by managing all the back end and complexities. So, the Australian Van Eck Bitcoin ETF launched. And it brought about $1.3 million in trading volume, and about 96,000 plus shares were actually traded on that particular first day. However, even though that wasn't a great day for the Australian ASX, Van Eck is still optimistic. Van Eck is saying, we're going to let it run because we believe that this market is going to grow. In terms of cryptocurrencies and ETFs, it's going to grow. So Van Eck said, we're optimistic. We know it's going to do well in the long run. So we're going to let it spin, essentially, in a very simple way. Now, on the topic of Van Eck executive praises Argentina and El Salvador essentially commitment to Bitcoin and crypto freedom. Now, what Van Eck is essentially talking about when it comes to Argentina is that Argentina is turning their entire country into a Bitcoin country, essentially. And the Bitcoin bank they're coming out with, the cryptocurrency regulations they're coming out with, how they've opened their doors to tech firms and so on. And this is what VanEck executives are praising Argentina for. Argentina can become the crypto hub of Latin America. If it continues like this, Argentina can definitely become the crypto hub of Latin America. So, VanEck executives praise Argentina and El Salvador's commitment to Bitcoin and crypto freedom. Goldberg, the executive at VanEck and the founder of Pointsville, in a recent acknowledgement of the expanding significance of cryptocurrencies in the financial landscape, has commended Argentina and El Salvador for their innovative efforts in promoting Bitcoin and establishing a free crypto economy. Grobers emphasized how these countries and leaders, Javier Milei and Nib, have set El Salvador and Argentina at the forefront of adoption of digital currencies by utilizing creative legislations and economic integrations. Both nations, essentially regarding crypto freedom efforts, is commendable. The VanEck executives Gerber Gross's appreciative insights were triggered by Argentina's President Javier's recent support for Bitcoin and free competition of cryptocurrencies when the country's economy was not doing too well. Groves commented on the president's post and asked Milei, Bitcoin a todos, meaning Bitcoin for everyone. Milei responded to the question, stated that there won't be any restrictions on currency competition, thus using Bitcoin will not present any issues. Argentina is not just a Bitcoin country. A lot of people presume that Argentina is just Bitcoin country. It's not just a Bitcoin country. Argentina is actually crypto for all in terms of the trying to make cryptocurrencies as legal tender. He further stated that crypto enthusiasts in the country are free to use alternative units such as BTU and WTI or whichever one is more suitable for their digital asset operations. In accounting terms, it is solved by the functional currency methods, he added. Pleased with this response, Grobus expressed his essentially gratitude, noting that free competition for digital assets is good. VanEck is saying all the movements that Argentina and El Salvador are doing right now are amazing. The executive went further to appreciate Argentina and El Salvador's commitment to pushing for an open landscape under the presidency of Javier and Nib. It is worth noting that Argentina, which is still experiencing inflation and economic uncertainties, has looked to the digital asset as a potential remedy. By adapting these assets, the nation has developed a strong crypto environment and provides a resonance with an alternative to conventional financial systems. Similarly, El Salvador has set a precedent for its innovative move to accept Bitcoin as a legal tender, demonstrating the potential of digital assets to transform the financial institutions completely. According to Grobus, these efforts that Javier and Nib are doing are essentially regarding free markets, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and the prosperity of safety for their communities are commendable. Other countries should follow in suit. This is coming from a perspective from VanEck, essentially saying other countries should be following El Salvador and Argentina's footsteps in terms of free markets. These nations are fostering global financial developments in addition to furthering their own economic goals by supporting free crypto initiatives and endorsing Bitcoin. Since these initiatives are in line with the larger movements towards financial decentralization and the democratization of monetary systems, Grobus urges other countries in Central and South America to emulate Argentina and El Salvador. He stated that the world has much to learn from modern economic blueprints in Central and South America, with Argentina and El Salvador leading the way in South America. The executive's comments highlight how important the acceptance of cryptocurrencies in developing countries and economies and providing residents with a financial haven during economic turmoils is. It also comes at a time of intense regulations and scrutiny of the digital asset market. So, VanEck has essentially done a massive speech in terms of other countries, especially South American countries, should be following in suit in terms of Argentina and El Salvador. Everything that Argentina and El Salvador are doing so far, even in my opinion, is absolutely amazing. In terms of actually creating a free market, in terms of using cryptocurrency as legal tender, in terms of backing their country with crypto assets, in terms of Bitcoin and so as a store of value, and creating a cryptocurrency bank, an actual cryptocurrency bank, everything, and tokenizing hotels in their country. Everything they're doing is definitely blueprints that other countries should be following, and it shows the adoption rate. And it also shows that VanEck, a company that in the past would have scrutinized cryptocurrencies, is now in favor. And you can see how corporates some corporates, or the majority of corporates, you can see how excited they are about cryptocurrencies and how excited they get when countries start adapting into cryptocurrencies. Do you think in the past Vanik would have said any of these things, coming out and saying, I know we commend Argentina for going towards cryptocurrencies? No. The reason why they're saying it now is because the adoption is happening slowly. That's why these companies are coming out and saying, we commend them. This is great. They're doing this. They're going legal. They're becoming a free market for cryptocurrencies. They're praising cryptocurrencies, these companies right now. And praising countries who go towards cryptocurrencies. It shows the adoption rate happening, even in terms of the corporate space. Now, Pantoro Capital is the next news to go from tonight's live show. Yesterday, I revealed to everyone that Pantoro Capital is getting ready to invest $1 billion in AI crypto projects. Now, Pantera Capital has invested into crypto projects in the past. One of them was Ton, but they won't reveal how much they invested into Ton, the crypto project essentially behind Telegram, about 900 million users, which is absolutely amazing. But Pantera Capital's new investment of $100 million is getting ready to might be entering a particular crypto asset. Before we go through that, let's start the conversation first. Ada Cardano has agreed to install infrastructure in Argentina. Yeah, Cardano essentially has agreed to a lot of things. So Cardano has made quite a lot of announcements. And the founder of Cardano, he's made multiple announcements that even to Elon Musk, but he got rejected from Elon Musk. But he's made multiple announcements to quite a lot of jurisdictions to implement Cardano. I hope one of these jurisdictions, accepts Cardano and so on. For anybody that is holding Cardano, I hope it does extremely well for you. But Cardano's founder has made quite a lot of announcements that he's going for different jurisdictions. Some have worked out for him. So, in terms of data, they are being used by the United Arab Emirates Police Department. They're actually using data in terms of Cardano. They're storing on Cardano's chain. But I hope it works out very well for Cardano. Do you think Brazil will allow Argentina to be bigger in the crypto space? Do I think Brazil will allow Argentina to be bigger in the crypto space? Yes and no. Brazil is also aiming to become quite big inside the crypto space as well, to be fair. A lot of tech companies are also going to Brazil. Ripple established itself in Brazil and opened up essentially a Ripple XRP Ledger fund. Coinbase established itself in Brazil and is opening up a fund as well. Brazil is quite lenient on licensings. So a lot of things are also happening in Brazil. So I don't think Brazil minds it if Argentina is growing alongside them. But Brazil is also a key player, even though Brazil wasn't commended by Van Eyck's, executive board members. But Brazil is still a very massive key player. They're giving out licensings. They're, quite lenient on licensings and regulations. Tech companies are going there to set themselves up. Blockchain companies are going in there to set themselves up as well. So Brazil's going to do quite well for itself. Evening, everyone. Simple. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? And Ray, let's go, brother. Now, Pantoro Capital. Pantoro Capital eyes potential $100 million investment in Bitwise spot Ethereum ETFs. Pantoro Capital is contemplating a substantial investment up to $100 million in Bitwise's spot Ethereum ETF. Apparently, Pantoro Capital is getting ready to invest about $100 million in the Ethereum ETF. Which you might think it's not enough money for the Ethereum ETF, $100 million, because Bitcoin did around 4.3 or something, $4.2 billion on its first day. But that's just from Pantoro Capital, but they are contemplating it. So Bitwise recent amendment to their S1 filings on June 18th indicates that Pantoro has expressed interest in acquiring shares. The firm plans to purchase these shares from authorized participants or broker-dealers via its affiliated investment funds. However, if Pantoro or its affiliates follow through on the investment, this is the interesting part as well, if Pantoro goes through with the investment of the Ethereum ETF, for example, they will be restricted from selling the shares on the open market for about 6 months. If Pantoro Capital invests $100 million into Ethereum ETFs, they're not going to be able to sell it for about 6 months. Otherwise, it will raise alarms. They will only be able to dispose of them through a remediation transaction with authorized participants. It's important to note that Pantoro has not yet committed to a definite agreement or set the investment amount in stone, but they are thinking about it. The actual investment could vary, potentially be more, less, or even non-existent. Pantoro's optimism for Ethereum ETFs. This is their optimism. In a June 18th letter to investors, Pantoro Capital CEO Dan and his team highlighted the potential appeal of spot Ethereum ETFs to a new wave of investors. who have been previously sidelined due to compliance issues or brokerage limitations. They believe Ethereum, with its reputation as a tech platform, might attract more investors' interest and be easier to understand than Bitcoin, often seen as digital gold. The firm also noted that despite Ethereum's underperformance over the past year and a half, this might position it as a strong catch-up trade candidate. Pantora suggested that the ETFs could offer a surprising upside due to the low expectations around the investment flows, but acknowledged the risk of significant outflows. Pantora pointed out that the Grayscale ETHE fund might experience outflows with transitions to an ETF, although these outflows could be less material compared to the early GBTC outflows. So once again, the moment the Ethereum ETFs get launched, Grayscale is going to be the downfall again. So when the Bitcoin ETFs launched and the market went sideways and then down, it was essentially something that people weren't expecting, was because of Grayscale. The same thing that happened in the past where Grayscale was releasing people's assets in terms of Bitcoin, and before they go into Bitcoin ETFs, they have to accept it, but a lot of essentially investors decide to sell their BTCs regarding Grayscale, and Grayscale was the downfall cause of the BTC ETFs, but then BlackRock essentially picked it back up. They're essentially saying that the same thing can play out again. When the Ethereum ETFs get accepted inside the United States, Grayscale could be the one that does the downfall of the Ethereum ETFs and does the outflows, the same thing that they did with the GBTCs, which were driven by forced sellers like Three Arrows Capital, 3AC, and Genesis, who faced bankruptcies also in 2022 and 2023 as well. Broader implications and market impacts. Pantora also disclosed potential broader knock-on effects of spot Ethereum ETFs approvals, including market growth and diversification. The firm stated that increased attention on Ethereum may spill over to the broader universe of protocols, as investors explore Ethereum as a technology platform. Furthermore, Pantora suggested that ETH ETF approvals could lead to greater integration with mainstream financial products, making blockchain just another asset class managed by registered regarding investment advisors RIAs, alongside thousands of existing securities. The firm speculated that these approvals might pave the way for spot Ethereum ETFs. The firm speculated that these approvals might pave the way for spot ETFs for other crypto tokens as well, echoing sentiments from executives at JP Morgan, Bernstein, and SIBO, who have shown varying levels of optimism about the future of crypto ETFs. So they're not the only ones that are essentially, Pantora is not the only one expecting multiple ETFs to be launching, not straight after Ethereum pretty much. JP Morgan's analyst said the exact same thing. Bernstein said the exact same thing, which I revealed on this live show as well. And SIBO said the exact same thing, which I revealed on this live show as well. So yes, this does broaden the range. And if Pantora is going to put $100 million, this is good news for anyone that's holding Ethereum as well. But just beware that Grayscale could be the downfall of Ethereum ETFs before the inflows start happening again. Now, Italy. On this live show, I told everyone that 17 Italian banks concluded their testings on CBDCs and that they're getting ready to do some sort of a launch regarding domestic payments and CBDCs. Now, something that China did a very long time ago is banning Bitcoin, banning the Bitcoin minings and banning cryptocurrencies, and then China launched CBDCs. Because why, be a competitor when you could just get rid of your competition? And it's exactly what China did. They just got rid of Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrencies and then launched CBDCs to get the ball rolling. Now, Italy is getting closer and closer to an actual, launch happening. Not on everybody launches at the same time in Italy, but in terms of small amounts just popping off here and there in terms of domestic payments and CBDCs. There are signs when a country is getting close to CBDCs, and those signs particularly are that the country becomes strict on crypto assets in terms of regulations. So not just China becoming strict on cryptocurrencies and then launching essentially CBDCs, Nigeria did the same thing. They followed China's footsteps. They banned cryptocurrencies essentially and then launched CBDCs. India did similar movements, but they didn't ban cryptocurrencies. They made life a living hell for these crypto platforms. Now, Italy. There are signs showing right now in Italy that Italy is getting prepared to launch some sort of crypto CBDCs down the line as well. because Italy is going to increase its crypto market surveillance with high fees. They're trying to get a bit more stricter on the market space. It's also a sign and an indication that the corporates are entering as well. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section first. Evening, everyone. Semper, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Thoughts on Algo? Algo is a good project, fast and reliable. Hello, CMF and Miles. Scott, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I hope that everyone had a good day. Let's go, Scott. How's your day, Scott? How you been? Now, Italy. Italy to increase crypto market surveillance with high fees, high fines. Italy is getting ready to tighten its oversight of crypto assets with strict rules to support market abuse. This is also targeting pump and dumps as well. So Italy is coming after you if you're doing pump and dumps and essentially, illegal movements inside the crypto space. So a new proposed law could soon bring hefty fines ranging from 5,000 euros or 5 million euros as a fine for things like insider trading in cryptocurrencies, illegal sharing secret information, and manipulating cryptocurrency markets. This comes as worries about the risk of digital currencies grow worldwide. Global organizations and central banks have warned that cryptocurrencies don't have a stable value and could cause economic problems. Causes of fraud involving cryptocurrencies have also sparked concerns around the globe. Italy's plan follows a European rule from last year that gives its central banks and its financial regulators, essentially CONSOB, the job of ensuring markets well and are financially safe. Cryptocurrencies work outside regular banks, letting people move money globally using blockchain technology. This tech keeps transactions safe by using unique digital wallet addresses and letters and numbers. Italy's move to crack down on crypto market tricks shows a wider trend of countries making rules to control cryptocurrencies more tightly. By punishing market manipulation and other wrongdoings with big fines, Italy aims to protect investors and keep financial markets honest. This reflects a global effort to carefully manage cryptocurrencies' risks and benefits. Also, Italy's essentially alignment is with the EU regulations coming very, very soon. The MICA regulations, pretty much at the end of this month, are coming in very, very soon. So Italy is getting prepared for that scenario as well in regards to tightening their own regulations. When countries tighten their own regulations in terms of cryptocurrencies, that means they're taking the crypto market serious. Why are countries taking crypto markets serious and why they're bringing tighter regulations? Is because the corporates want to enter. So those corporates in Italy want to enter the market space, but they're not going to enter it in grey areas. Some might, but the majority won't. The bigger ones won't enter in grey space areas. Now, with Italy, essentially tightening the regulations, bringing in that regulation of people playing nicely on the crypto markets, is when the corporate sector could enter the market space. So it again shows the adoption rate. When countries tighten regulations, is two indications. One, the corporate sector wants to enter for that particular jurisdiction. Two, they're getting very ready to CBDCs when they're tightening regulations. Now, which are both good. I mean, CBDCs, if you're holding XRP and Ripple, that plays out very well for you. And in terms of corporations coming in, if you're holding utility projects, that works out well for you as well. Now, tokenized US Treasury holders surge to an all-time high is the next news we're going to go through on tonight's live show. Tokenization is becoming a very, very big player, especially in US Treasury bonds. I'm going to go through that on tonight's live show as well. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Simple, let's go. My day went well. How are your parents doing? How are you doing? And how's business going? Business going very well. Thanks for asking, Scott. My family's doing very well as well. Any nuggets about new listings? There are some new projects here and there, but nothing viable for me to share regarding the new projects. XRP, XDC, XLM, ACH, still good? Yes. In my opinion, yes. Hell yes. XLA is good on the side to mine. Never buy XLA because you can mine XLA instead. But yeah, they're all good. XLA is good for privacy in the long run. And the other projects, XRP, XDC, XLM, ACH, are still always good. Now, they're always good. Tokenized US Treasury. Tokenized US Treasury holders surged to an all-time new high. The tokenized US Treasury markets reached an all-time high of 2,143 holders, with a 250% year-to-date growth according to the data aggregator. The ONDO short-term US government bond USDY leads about 1,054 holders and over $280 million in tokenized bonds. ONDO Finance is the one leading the market in terms of tokenized US Treasuries. So if you are in ONDO Finance and you're wondering, is ONDO Finance going to do well in the long term? Well, as long as I've said previously, the CEO of ONDO Finance does movements like this in general, in terms of going for BlackRock's iBuild or becoming essentially the number one in regarding tokenized US Treasury bonds, yes, they're going to do incredibly well ONDO Finance moving forward, as long as they do movements like this. The BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, iBuild, essentially, which leads the market with nearly $463 million in tokenized US Treasury registers, 14 holders. One of the smallest numbers, notably, Build is reserved for qualified institutional investors with a $5 million minimum investment fund requirement. Meanwhile, Franklin On-Chain US Government Money Fund, FOBXX, by asset manager Franklin Templeton, is at the second largest by number of holders and tokenized assets. The FOBXX registered 430 holders and surpassed $344 million in tokenized assets of US Treasury bonds. The Government Money Market Digital Fund, WTGXX, managed by WisdomTree, wraps up the list of tokenized funds with over 100 holders and 152 investors hold their digitally represented shares. Furthermore, the number of WTGXX holders grew by 950% this year. That is an incredible percentage increase to see in terms of tokenizations coming out of WisdomTree's data. Of 950% increase in terms of people going for tokenization, companies going for tokenizations in WisdomTree. 950% increase this year. Over $136 million in tokenized funds shares were issued in June, which with 35 millions were burned as investors claimed their assets. Moreover, the tokenized US Treasury market reached its all-time high of $1.57 billion on June 17th, boosting about 118% year-to-date growth. The funds market, essentially the ETF market space, is climbing the tokenization market space is climbing quite ridiculously inside the corporate sector, with WisdomTree essentially doing a massive climb in terms of tokenizations of US Treasury bonds, the Government Money Market Digital Fund, or Franklin Templeton On-Chain, and even BlackRock, even though with their small holders. But the rest of them are bringing in high numbers, but especially ONDO Finance. ONDO Finance is ironically got the most amount of holders regarding tokenization of US Treasury bonds. About 1,054 holders. That's about $218 million. So, honestly, ONDO Finance will do quite well for itself if it keeps on doing movements like this. Now, before we go through the next news, which is regarding Coinbase's CLO, let's go to the comment section first. If I recall, you posted about how to XLA, correct? Yes. I posted a step-by-step guide on how to be able to mine XLA on an Android smartphone. Yes. Smartest, it's on YouTube. Smartest push bill. I'll send you the link again, no problem. Senators push bill making Russia a terror sponsor. Yes, that is true. It's because Putin has recently had a few meetings, one in North Korea, two in Taiwan. And his recent one was essentially Putin in Taiwan. Now, apparently, the Taiwan and China situation going at it with each other, Putin is trying to smooth things out. The US does not like the idea of Putin essentially, doing this, but Putin has a mind of its own. And now they're trying to claim, once again, that World War III might be on the verge because Putin has had a meeting with, essentially North Korea. Putin's having another meeting with similar other countries around it and so on. But there's no World War III. Not saying you suggested that, Leroy, but in general, the news slightly is spinning the story again regarding Putin. Putin in the past has said that essentially to Tucker that he's not going to be causing a World War III. He said, I will never, start a war against NATO. He said, I'm not stupid enough to do this. Now, Coinbase. Coinbase CLO task lawmakers towards crypto remittances. Coinbase Chief Legal Officer Paul has called for increased support for crypto remittances from lawmakers. This year, crypto adoption continues to surge with more participants embracing. Okay, Before I tell you what essentially Coinbase's chief legal officer has said, I said the number one category inside the crypto space basically is the finance category. I've been saying this for the longest time. The number one category inside the crypto category is the finance category, the money category, the cross-border category, and so on. And I said this year especially is what the focus is on. This year especially the focus is on essentially utility, but also cross-border payments is one of those utilities. CBDCs in terms of cross-border payments and so on is one of those utilities as well. Now, Coinbase's chief legal officer has came out and made quite a bit of a speech on how and what the motive is this year, because every market has a trend, and this trend, I've said this previously, is about banks, corporations, and so on. So, Coinbase's CLO has said that this year, crypto adoption continues to surge, with more participants embracing its cross-border functionalities, among others. As crypto gradually becomes a mainstream issue, users push for the passage of wider industry regulations inside the United States. Coinbase executives advocate for remittances. Paul wrote on X, stressing the importance of remittances globally, adding that it shouldn't cost so much to send payments across borders. Crypto for remittance payments is a real solution to the real problem. It shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg to support loved ones abroad. With a 1 in 8 Americans sending money home to families last year, lawmakers need to pay attention to this real utility of cross-border payments. The importance of cryptocurrency remittances has been stressed by many within the community as it offers faster solutions with blockchain technology able to cater to the unbanked. According to Coinbase, 1 in 8 Americans sent money overseas to help their families. However, this important aspect of finance faces two challenges: high fees and longer waiting times. According to crypto exchange fees, it can hit up to $6 for a $100 transaction. This is due to the intermediaries and traditional finances racking up fees for payments. On the other hand, blockchain technology doesn't require traditional finance structures to make cross-border payments, thereby driving costs down. Now, it does depend when it comes to cross-border payments what you're going to be using to be fast and secure and reliable and cheap. If you're going to send Bitcoin to someone, tell them to expect it in about 45 minutes. Not even joking. If you're going to be sending in terms of Coinbase's CLO saying all these things, and saying that cross-border payments is one of the biggest factors, finance is the biggest category in the crypto space, and he said that 1 in 8 Americans send money back home. But when it comes to cryptocurrencies, if you want to send Bitcoin to a family member across the world, tell them to wait about 45 minutes when it gets there. If they need the payment immediately, it's not going to happen. 45-minute wait. But it does depend on congestion. If you're sending your family members Ethereum, you have to tell them that the fee is going to be probably $129, which probably cuts away from the actual payment itself, and the payment will be there in about 15 to 20 minutes. If you're going to send your family members Solana in terms of cross-border payments, the network could be congested and the payment could just bounce back and get rejected about 12 times before it goes through. These are the realities of essentially cross-border payments and cryptocurrencies. I'm not even joking. I use these all the time. Bitcoin is incredibly slow. If you've used it, you would know. Ethereum is incredibly high sometimes on fees. If you've used it, you would know. Solana, the last time I tried to buy something on Solana, the transaction failed 12 times before it went through. Not even joking on that one. The transaction failed 12 times before it went through. If that's the future, I don't want it. Now, in terms of cross-border payments, if you sent your money through XRP, you would get there in about 5 seconds. If you send your XRP to your family member on the other side of the world, you know for a fact it will get there. As much as people want to hate on XRP or Ripple as a company, but you know for a fact if you send your family members money across the world in XRP, they will get the money in under 5 seconds, and the fees will be less than a cent, and the transaction will never fail. If you're sending your money in terms of XLM, it's also going to get there. The transaction won't fail either. HWAL won't fail either. There's quite a lot of projects that won't fail. STX is king, is what plaintiff profit said. But yeah, those are the realities of cross-border payments. Some projects are made for cross-border payments, others not so much. But they do claim they are cross-border payments. People, say we can use Bitcoin as legal tender. You can, but 45-minute wait, especially the high fees and congested network, or Ethereum, high fees, makes no sense. Honestly, if I want to send my family member $60 on Ethereum, the fees could be $60. How can that be the future? If I want to send my family member on Solana money, the transaction could fail about 12 times as it did previously for me. But yeah, there are some projects that are actually made for cross-border payments, and some projects claim to do cross-border payments. They're not there yet, some projects. And some projects are definitely there in terms of cross-border payments. Now, also to go on this more, crypto users anticipate positive laws. Digital asset enthusiasts increase calls for crypto-friendly legislations as adoption grows. Utilities such as faster cross-border payments are often highlighted by stakeholders. While some centralized payments might be settled over a day, blockchain models are a lot more faster. This year, several jurisdictions have begun implementing a form of blockchain-based cross-border payments. The United States' recent wins for the Crypto Congress has sparked optimism on the future of crypto regulations, which could lead to a clearer cut rules. Firms like Coinbase have essentially reinstated efforts towards crypto markets regulations, which is all true. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is actually quite a funny one. The next news to go from tonight's live show. A perspective is coming out. A perspective is coming out from America's oldest consumer. America's oldest consumer tweeted out saying, Protection Organization says that Tether needs to die. The America's oldest consumer protection organization tweeted out saying that Tether needs to die before we can move forward. Now, we're going to go through their perspective on why America's oldest organization randomly has came out and made that tweet that Tether needs to die for us to be able to move forward inside the crypto space. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Good evening, Mike. Good to see you. How you doing? STX is let's go plaintiff. YouTube never notify me when you go live. Click the little bell icon. Also, join a Telegram as well. I always let everyone know on Telegram when I'm going live. Tini, did you tap the bell? Sorry, Tini. Now, America's oldest consumer protection organization says that Tether needs to die. Tether might be a big name inside the crypto industry, but it's on shaky grounds with America's oldest consumer watchdog. Consumers' research is sounding the alarm of bells loud and clear. They say it's time for Tether to go, plain and simple. Stablecoins are supposed to be a safe space in the crypto chaos, pegged to a stable assets like the dollar to prevent wild price swings. But while other stablecoins are getting the thumbs up, Tether's practices are raising red flags from all corners. From the get-go, Tether has been a magnet for controversy. Started in 2014, the platform promised each Tether was worth one solid US dollars. But it turns out that wasn't always the case, according to consumers' research. Tether, since day one until now, hasn't been transparent. We still don't know what's really backing Tether. They claim that the number one bonds of US bonds are behind them. They have more US bonds than countries, but they won't show it. That just raises the alarms. Now, regarding this, from the get-go, Tether has been a magnet for controversy. Starting in 2014, the platform essentially promised each Tether was worth one solid US dollar, but it turns out that that wasn't the case, and according to consumers' research, it really isn't. Flash forward to 2018. The New York Attorney General's office began digging into Tether. In 2018, the New York Attorney General's office began digging in Tether, and its sister exchange, Bitfinex. Tether and Bitfinex do quite a bit of dodgy behaviors going on there. They uncovered misrepresentations about their dollar reserves in 2017, and by 2019, the two were found falsifying their financial status after Bitfinex took a serious financial hit. Tether's asset manager under scrutiny. The troubles didn't stop there. In 2021, The US Commodities Futures Trading Commission fined Tether a whopping $41 million. Why did the US Commodities and Futures Trading Commission fine Tether $41 million in 2021? Because for over 2 years, Tether had been playing fast and loose with the truth about their dollar reserves. Fully backed, only 27.6% of that time was fully backed by Tether. Tether claims all of their dollars are backed 100%, and they have the assets to prove it. Technically, they were only backing 27.6% of their assets. So they received a $41 million fine by the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission back in 2021. They threw in some unsecured receivables and other non-fiat assets into the mix, all while claiming they were conducting routine professional audits, which, spoiler alert, they weren't. Questions about how Tether manages its reserves are still unanswered. An S&P report handed Tether 4 out of 5 for transparency and regulatory framework. And then there's the issue of their past investments. Loads of commercial paper and securities from major Chinese banks. Tether says they cut ties with these Chinese banks and Chinese assets. But consumer research points out that no audits has confirmed this. So Tether is still claiming, until this day, Tether is still claiming they have no ties in any sort of a way to China's banks, the Chinese businesses in any sort of a way. But where's the proof? We don't know what's backing Tether's assets. We don't know where those assets are from. Tether won't say anything. And Tether is, as they said, the Consumer Protection said, Tether is supposed to be the beacon of stableness inside the crypto space. It's the number one stable coin. It's in the word, stable coin. So the last thing you want is a stable coin, the number one stable coin, depegging. So adding to the drama of all of this, a February JP Morgan report highlighted a growing concentration in Tether holdings as a negative trend for the crypto ecosystem. They pointed out that regulatory threats, especially from the US Treasury, which could tighten the noose given Tether's resilience on the American market. Just this March that recently went by, Tether boosted a market cap of $100 billion. Sounds impressive, right? But this dominance comes with a risk. As Rajiv Barma from Moody's put it, any screw up from Tether is a ticking time bomb for every single financial institution involved in it. A different perspective now coming from Tether's CEO. So after all of what Tether's been through, showing zero transparency, showing zero proof if they are still working with Chinese banks or Chinese businesses or where their money is coming from, zero proof on their US treasuries, once being fined for not actually having the money to back their own assets that they claim to do, $41 million. After all of that, and even Moody's coming out and saying Tether's full of BS as well. Moody's was the same company that, caused the 2008 crash. And think about it, Moody's is coming out and saying Tether's full of BS. Now, fast forward to this. A different perspective from Tether's CEO. Despite all the regulatory heat and controversies, Tether's CEO appears unwavering. He rarely takes allegations of Tether's instability seriously. In his recent statements on social media and interviews, he emphasized that Tether's massive impact, particularly in developing countries, he mentioned. This is what Tether's CEO said. Tether USDT is bringing the US dollar to hundreds of millions of people around the world. That live is developing countries and are in need of an alternative to their local national currencies that are quickly losing any sort of value. He went on to say, has always been Paulo, which is Tether's CEO, has always been a vocal about Tether's role as a lifeline for millions, arguing that it provides a stable and reliable digital dollar. In an interview with Cryptopolitan, he told us that Tether's strategic focus is moving away from US markets to address more pressing needs in the third world countries, where Tether's services are critically needed. Okay, so Tether's CEO said in an interview that they're moving away from the US markets. Now, the only reason Tether might be moving away from the US markets is because they don't want to be under the microscope inside the US markets. And they're moving to third world countries, countries that don't really ask questions, countries that will open their doors to money and new technology. So, with Tether essentially doing this, they're really trying to get under the microscope, not to be under the microscope regarding the United States. But it also goes back to what I said, which was that the Western markets might start phasing out USDT. The Western markets might start phasing out USDT, and the EU is going to be the first, essentially, continent to Europe is going to be the first continent to phase out USDT. Under the MICA regulations, the EU is going to be phasing out USDT. And it's only because they have one rule, transparency. You have to hold some of your assets in European banks to prove that you have reserves. Tether said no, which it just screams dodgy. Like, Tether must be incredibly dodgy, and they must be either incredibly broke or all of their assets are tied up in the most dodgiest way ever. So it generally is going to happen. We talked about USDT essentially going through this situation of one, USDT is the number one stablecoin and it's the US dollars. Two, it's the number one stablecoin, it's US dollars, and America's not controlling it. Obviously, United States does not like that in any sort of a way. And they don't like the idea of, US businesses using USDT, a USDT that could have financings and backings from China, which China could then later on manipulate USDT, which will cause an economic crisis inside of US markets. This is what the issue is with USDT. Because we don't know what's backing it, because we don't know if China, still is backing USDT, even though Tether claims it's not, but won't show any sort of proof where their assets are from or who they're from. If the US markets, for example, starts using USDT, or the Western markets start using USDT, and China does have influence of USDT, they could cause a massive crisis in Western countries. If corporations in the West start using USDT, China essentially manipulates USDT, depegs it in some sort of way somewhere down the road, and then that's it. Massive economic crisis, and all Western countries who are using USDT. So therefore, Western countries, starting with the EU, is going to put a transparency rule, which they already have inside the MICA regulation. They put a transparency law, which is you want to be inside the EU markets, show transparency. You don't want to show transparency, then we don't care about you. So I'll be honest, Tether is going to get phased out. Tether is going to be replaced because it's peace of mind for corporations if Tether doesn't exist. Because they don't know what's backing it and they don't know who's backing it. Countries don't like that, neither does the US and neither do corporates. And we need those corporate money to push us up on utility projects. So here's a message to Tether's CEO. If Tether's CEO ever comes across this, or if somebody working for Tether is watching this live show right now, here's a message to you, Tether's CEO. You have two options. Option number one, take one for the team. I'll explain what that means. CZ, Binance, they needed Binance out of the picture. The US needed Binance out of the picture. They needed, the full control of Binance, essentially, and they needed CZ out of the picture for corporations to enter the market space. CZ took one for the team. He went straight in immediately and took one for the team. Did this, paying a fine, getting replaced, but gets to walk away with the majority of his money. He does about 4 months inside. He took one for the team, CZ. Or option number two, Tether's CEO, you can go down like FTX, where they arrest you, you go to prison, they take your company away from you, you go for Chapter 11, Chapter 15 bankruptcy. So Tether's CEO, you genuinely have two options. One, just take one for the team. We all know you got nothing backing USDT. If you did, you would have shown it by now. It's not asking for much. We're all using USDT anyways. So just show us the proof. And who's backing it? So you have two options, mate. Option number one, Tether's CEO, take one for the team like CZ and just get this over with so we can move on with the corporates and regulations. Or, option number two, go down like FTX, which I don't think you would last a day in prison the same way Sam Beckman didn't, and most likely he dropped the server multiple times as well. So yeah, option number one, take one for the team like CZ, just end it straight away. Option number two, screaming and shouting, being dragged into prison. So that's my message to Tether's CEO. If somebody from Tether is watching this live show, tell that to Tether's CEO. You have two options. Option number one, take one for the team. Option number two, get dragged into prison screaming and shouting. Because the faster we can get over this whole Tether situation, the faster we can move forward with regulations and more corporate money coming in. So just take one for the team, like CZ did, and we all moved forward. Now, California judge breaks with New York counterpart and sends Ripple security lawsuits to trial. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Yes, I did a few different times. I think I was here. Did you see Donald Trump's donation of $200 million in Bitcoin? I didn't know. He received $200 million in donations. I heard the two brothers sent him $2 million or $1 million donation. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you. How you doing? He said it a few different times. The Wonkworks, twins donated. Yep, they donated about $1 million or $2 million as well. What is your take on RVN? I don't know what the recent developments are, so I'd have to look into the recent developments to give you a better perspective. Lena direct messaged me, and I'm still going to send you that PDF for you to be able to move your assets as well. I haven't forgotten, nearly finished it as well. 2 million, not 200, apparently not. Tether has done all this to themselves. Sleep in the bed you made. Facts. Tether has done this all to themselves. Tether is the black swan. By the looks of it, Tether is going to be some sort of a black swan event. But here's the thing. I believe they're going to phase out Tether rather than dump it on the market. And then another stable coin is going to take its position. USDC is not capable of taking Tether's position as, number one stable coin. USDC is not capable of taking over USDT as a number one stablecoin if USDT gets phased out. As I said previously, USDC has depegging issues and money issues, and Tether has transparency issues. So we do need another stablecoin inside the market space that from day one they show commitment and transparency, and that's only Ripple stablecoin, to be fair enough. Even the Ripple haters or XRP haters will start using Ripple stablecoin because it's faster and cheaper than pretty much everything else on the market. It's faster, it's more cheaper, it's transparent, it's secure, and for a fact it's never going to get congested. For a fact the transactions will always be cheap, and for a fact the transactions will always go through and never fail. And for a fact they're going to be incredibly fast. Can XLA be mined on iPhone? No, unfortunately not. Apple does not allow anybody to mine cryptocurrencies on their iOS systems because it damages the battery or their chipsets. No joke, we talked about Tether this time last year on how shady they were. Facts, we did, JP, absolutely. Everything me and JP said and everything we talked about on the live show, on the CMF live show last year is pretty much rolling out on how Tether is dodgy, Tether's going to go sideways, and Tether's going to get phased out, and so on and so on. Everything's happening back to back as we spoke about it last year on this live show. Now, a California judge breaks with New York counterpart and sends Ripple Securities lawsuit to trial. Now, you might be thinking, is this the SEC and Ripple lawsuit? No. It's the other Ripple lawsuit, which was multiple civil lawsuits against Brad, the CEO of Ripple Labs. Now, you might be thinking, well, this isn't important. This is regular people suing Ripple Labs and so on and so on. What I'm interested about is what the judge said and how the judge dismissed the cases. Is what I'm mostly. Let me tell you. California judge breaks with New York counterpart and sends Ripple Securities lawsuit to trial. A Californian judge has ruled that a civil securities lawsuit against Ripple will proceed to trial, denying in part of the firm's motion for summary judgment in the suit alleging that Ripple's CEO violated state securities laws back in 2017. A jury will hear the arguments on whether Ripple CEO Brad made misleading statements in connection with the sale of securities in 2017, televised essentially on TV in an interview. The other four claims in the class action securities lawsuits, the so-called failure to register claims, were tossed out by the judge. One judge tossed out 99% of the civil cases. One judge tossed out 99% of all the cases that were against Ripple and Brad on a civil lawsuit. So people saying, I brought XRP, I thought it was going to go higher. You know, those types of morons, when they don't realize buying XRP or buying XLM or buying Bitcoin or buying Ethereum or buying anything in general in life is optional. I don't know how that's difficult for people to understand. If you buy a MacBook, it's optional. You buy a TV, it's optional. Buy a car, it's optional. Buy XRP, it's optional. Buy XLM, it's optional. Buy Solana, it's optional. And if things don't go the way you think it did, it was optional. That's why 99% of those cases just got tossed out. One of them is going to get violated in court, but here's the thing. So, the jury will hear the arguments on Ripple's CEO Brad made misleading statements apparently in a connection with sale of securities in 2017. And 99% of them were tossed out by a judge, Judge Phyllis Hamilton of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. He said, we are pleased that the California court, this is what Stewart said essentially from Ripple Labs. Stewart said from Ripple, the head chief legal officer, we are pleased that the California court dismissed all class action claims. The one individual state law claim that survived will be dealt with at trial, said Ripple's chief legal officer Stewart in an email statement. The plaintiff has alleged that Brad violated California's security laws by professing to be very, very long on XRP. So this particular investor has said that Brad once said, in his own words, that he's very, very long on XRP. The quote was actually used. Brad said once he's very, very long on XRP, while simultaneously selling millions of XRP on various crypto exchanges throughout 2017. According to the court documents, Ripple's lawyers argued that the claim should be tossed because XRP doesn't meet the definition of a security under the Howey test, and thus cannot give a rise to a claim for misleading statements in connection with a security. In her Thursday ruling, Hamilton, said the judge, said that Ripple's lawyers urged her to follow the reasonings of the U.S. District Court Judge Torres, who, in parallel case in the Southern District of New York, ruled that XRP did not meet all the prolongs of the Howey test, and when sold directly to retail participants on exchanges, Torres' ruling constituted a partial victory for Ripple and was called celebrated by many crypto industries as a step of right decision and long-awaited regulatory clarity, as well as a potential precedent for other crypto security cases. But Torres' ruling hasn't seemed to have as much sway as hopeful once thought last year. Torres' colleagues in SDY and district courts and so on, and the other judge, Rakoff, rejecting her rulings in a separate case brought by the U.S. Exchange Commission. But Hamilton, on the other hand, Judge Hamilton, said that the rulings of Judge Torres are correct. Judge Torres claimed that XRP is not a security once under secondary parties. It's not a security when XRP sells it off like that. George Rakoff, a while ago, beginning of this year, was towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, George Rakoff said, he doesn't agree with Judge Torres, but he's a nobody because he's not involved in the case. Now, Judge Hamilton, has decided to bring up that previous case with Judge Torres and said that Judge Torres was correct. Also, this is what Judge Hamilton said. Judge Hamilton and her rulings also broke with Torres' legal opinion that XRP sold to programmatics, meaning non-institutional traders, was not a security because those traders had no expectation of profits due to the efforts of others, one of the 4 prongs of the Howey test. The court declines to find as a matter of law that a reasonable investor would have derived by any expectation of profit from general cryptocurrency market trends. basically the judge is trying to say you're a moron and it's optional to buy an asset. From general cryptocurrency market trends, as opposed to Ripple's efforts to facilitate XRP use in cross-border payments, among others, Hamilton wrote. These are all in the cases in terms of cross-border payments as well. Accordingly, the court cannot find, as a matter of law, that Ripple's conduct would not have led a reasonable investor to have expectations of profit due to the efforts of others. In his statements, Stewart added that Torres' ruling in the SEC case still stands, and also wrote that nothing here disrupts that decision. Nothing here disrupts that decision regarding Ripple not being a security. Judge Hamilton, yesterday, essentially, well, because of the timings right now, yesterday said that regarding Ripple, is it a security or not? No. Even if the Judge Hamilton, it's really not. I'll say that the same thing that Judge Torres said, Judge Hamilton just backed. Honestly, it's not really looking good for the SEC either for their own cases, because I know for a fact that Ripple's lawyers are going to use this case now also to go against the SEC again. The same way they use the Terraform Labs case. And as I said, someone is going to use the Terraform Labs case, and pretty much a day after Ripple used the Terraform Labs case as reference, I said Ripple could use this, Coinbase could use this as reference, and so on. And Ripple was the one that used it as reference, and so did Coinbase, the Terraform Labs case. That they did, cause the market to fail. But we didn't. Now, Miles, what is your opinion on China's relation to crypto in present and future? China's relationship with essentially cryptocurrencies is under the table. Honest opinion, China's essentially relationship with cryptocurrencies is definitely under the table. On the table, China is not in favor of cryptocurrencies. On the table, it's not in favor of cryptocurrencies and so on. Now, in terms of Bitcoin mining, they're still mining in China. In terms of Bitcoin, local news articles have came out from China themselves, not Western articles, but actual local news articles have came out of China. They are still mining Bitcoin in some provinces, small provinces, but they're still mining Bitcoin, even though the West claims that China is not mining Bitcoin whatsoever. Also, in terms of cryptocurrency, China has a massive influence on the cryptocurrency market space as well. Quite a lot of Chinese companies that operate in the province essentially of Hong Kong are heavy holders of Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. Quite a lot of them, actually. Quite a lot of Chinese companies that operate out of Hong Kong are massive BTC ETF holders in these BlackRock ETFs and Van Eck ETFs and so on and so on. WisdomTree ETFs. So in terms of China's relationship with crypto in the present and future, they're going to play a massive role. Chinese companies that are operating out of Hong Kong, they're playing a massive role. The corporations in China, the heavier up corporations, they also have a hand in cryptocurrencies as well. China is going to eventually open their doors to cryptocurrencies, but that's only after they, release their CBDC on a wide, massive scale and their social credit system on a wide, massive scale. And then they will start, slowly opening their doors up, loosening their doors up, because they've got everyone on CBDCs. After that, it doesn't really matter. Now, no joke, we talked about this. Yes, we did. Now, we have also, interesting enough, reached the endings of this live show as well. It's about 1:03. I have an incredible amount of work to do as well. So, we have reached the endings of this live show. The last news that I read out is quite bullish on Ripple's side, a judge ruling in favor of what Judge Torres said as well. We also went through news, if you did tune in late, we also went through news regarding America's oldest consumer pretty much coming out and tweeting that Tether needs to go away for everyone to move forward inside the crypto sector in terms of corporates. We also talked about Coinbase's CLO regarding tasking lawmakers to go towards cryptocurrencies. We talked about tokenized US treasuries doing quite well in ONDO finance. We talked about Italy increasing their crypto market surveillance on high fees, which is an indication that corporates are going to be entering in Italy. That's why they're tightening their rules, essentially. We also talked about Pantera Capital getting ready to invest about $100 million in Ethereum ETFs. If they do that, they can't sell that ETF of that $100 million investment in Ethereum ETFs. We also talked about Vanik executives' perspectives on Latin American countries going towards cryptocurrencies. We talked about Australia's first Bitcoin ETF and their debut and how much they did in terms of volume. We talked about investment firm CIQ in terms of they're applying for the first ever Solana ETP in Canada. We talked about essentially the EDF company that's become a validator on Kronos on crypto.com chain, and we talked about MicroStrategy making a massive investment once again on Bitcoin, and we also talked about the Bank of England holding their rates steady, and we also talked about Kraken's CEO and his perspectives on the Biden administration. So we went through quite a mixture of topics on tonight's live show, and we have come to the endings of tonight's live show as well. So if you're watching this for the live show for the first time ever and you enjoyed it, you can drop a follow and drop a like if you want to. But you can tune into this live show every single night on X or on YouTube, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards. Every single night you can tune into it. Now, when I'm traveling on Wednesday, I will see if we're going to be able to do the live show or not on Tuesday or Wednesday. But I'll let everyone know it's our Telegram group. I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to do the live show on that particular date, because afterwards I can still continue doing the live show. It's just that one particular day that I'm actually traveling from London to there. I'll see. I'll let everyone know it's our Telegram group. So we might miss the live show for one day, but we don't know. I'll confirm it in the Telegram group. So if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. Miles, what is your opinion on China? Yeah. Good night, brother Miles, and CMF. See you tomorrow night. Funky brother, see you tomorrow same time as usual as well. Take care, Miles and family. Ray, see you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles, and all CMFs. Thank you for all the great news as always. JP, see you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual. Mike, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thank you, Miles, and good night. Carol, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Imon, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. JR, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. And also we have a Telegram group as well if anybody wants to join, completely free. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. CMF, hope all of you have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. See you tomorrow, same time as usual, CMF.